Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janava Girivaradhari. Gopi Janavalla Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatiravanachari Yamuna. Yamuna Tiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gora Premanande Haribol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. To Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Ich könnte denken, wieder mal eine deutsche Klasse machen. But online usually someday in English and but it feels a little bit, es fühlt sich manchmal ein bisschen komisch an, wenn du nachher Schweizer vor dir hast. Und, ja, wir sind schließlich in der Schweiz. Also wir lesen ja jetzt, wir lesen jetzt, nein, ich möchte nicht in Hochdeutsch reden, irgendwie, das ist auch. Bin ich eingestimmt. So, let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. Canto 5, 10, text 13. Unmattamata jadavatsa Unmattamata jadavatsva sangsthang Gatasya me vira chikitsitena. Wow. Gatasya me vira chikitsitena. Gatasya me vira chikichitena Arthakyan bhavata chitena Arthakyan bhavata shikshitena Stapta prasya chapishaha Stapta pramatasya chapishtapeshaha Unmattamata jadavatsa Katasya me vira chikitsitena Arthakyan bhavata shikshitena Stapta pramatasya chapishtapeshaha. Please chant if you like. Unmattamata jadavatsva sangstam Gatasya me vikitsitena Arthakyan bhavata shikshitena Stapta pramatasya chapeshaha. Word for word. Unmata, madness. Mata, a drunkard. Jadavat, like a dunce. Swasangstam, situation in my original constitutional. Katasya, of one who has obtained. Me, of me. Vira, O king. Sikitsitena, by your chastisement. Artaha, meaning or purpose. Kiyan, what? Bhavata, by you. Shikshitena, by being instructed. Stapta, dull. Pramatasya, of a crazy man. Cha, also. Eshaha, like grinding flour. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. My dear King, you have said, you rascal, you dull crazy fellow, I am going to chastise you and then you will come to your senses. In this regard, let me say that although I live as a deaf and dumb man, I am actually a self-realized person. What will you gain by punishing me? If your calculation is true and I am a madman, then your punishment will be like beating a dead horse. There will be no effect. When a madman is punished, he is not cured of his madness. Purport. Everyone in this world is working like a madman under certain impressions falsely acquired in the material condition. For example, a thief who knows that stealing is not good and who knows that it is followed with punishment by a king or by God, who has seen that thieves are arrested and punished by the police, nonetheless steals again and again. He is obsessed with the he will be happy. This is a sign of madness. Despite repeated punishment, the thief cannot give up his stealing habit. Therefore, the punishment is useless. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Hang Shri Guru Shri Uta Pada Kamalam Sri Gurung Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatang Vitang Twang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutang Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakanta He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Guru translation? Yeah. YouTube. Yes. So we are continuing in our study of Srimad Bhagavatam, and this is the section of Jada Bharat speaking to King Rahugana. And Srila Prabhupada gives a very nice purport to this verse, where he defines what it means to be mad. When somebody is mad. So we'll definitely speak about this topic today. What madness, because that's the theme. Srila Prabhupada wrote an essay entitled, Who is Crazy? You know that? Who is Crazy? That's the title of the essay. And in the early years of our movement, they even made small booklets out of that and distributed. And Prabhupada, he begins there by asking the question, who is crazy? And he's making the point that basically in our world, if we observe that there's different groups of people, no? There's so many different groups of people. You have different nationalities. That's probably, yeah, that's one big chunk of group. Now, if you have like, they group together. You know, we are Swiss, and they are Americans. They are Indians, and vice versa. So that's one. Then I'm a man. I'm a woman. I'm a businessman. I'm by occupation we can divide people. By interest, by political we see often right, left, middle left, middle right, up down. So many groups. And then Prabhupada is making the point that basically each group is saying that we are right and everybody else is crazy. We reflect about the point. It's a very profound point he's making, that even though it's not spoken like that, that's basically what we know, we do right, we are good, and others, they are crazy. why they do like this? And Prabhupada, of course, wants to then come to the point of the two kinds of people, which we also see, the one being materialistic people and one being spiritual people. That also, and there you usually see it quite, I'm not saying I maybe make some generic statements here, but sometimes that materialistic people think when they say religious people, why are they doing this, no? Why they wear these things, why they do this, why? Doesn't make any sense. And on the other hand, you see people, spiritual people, you know why they are just after money, after this and that. So basically, again, the same point, that thinking others they are kind of crazy by doing something which they, my group and I cannot really agree. There's a few thoughts of Srila Prabhupada's life, mind in this regard. In the early days also, Prabhupada was once walking in Boston, I think. Boston, similar climate like we have here. And they were out in maybe it was a winter day, it was a cold day definitely. And he already had some disciples, and in the early days especially, he attracted some very sincere ladies who became very close disciples. Maybe, I think 2 of them. So they were walking outside in Boston, and then while they were walking, they stopped at a Fußgängerstreife, pedestrian or something. Yeah, where do you know these yellow lines usually where they cross? And so that it was right, they were waiting, and on the other side, so here was Prabhupada, and these ladies, they started to dress in this way. That's how they would dress. That became the fashion. Still now is the fashion with some of us. And so they were outside, they were dressed in the winter, you know, in this kind of sari robes. And on the other side, there was also 2 girls, all of them were young, and they had a mini skirt and high heels, and you know, were kind of dressed up. And Srila Prabhupada was standing there, and you know, you have to wait, so certainly seeing Western girls in Indian clothes in the winter, they were kind of, Prabhupada noted that they were a little bit shocked and confused, like what's happening, why are they dressing like this? And so then they crossed, I think, I don't know exactly the sequence of events, but at some point they crossed, and Prabhupada then, he left, and he mentioned to his disciples that, you know, they are thinking that you are actually crazy, and you're thinking they are crazy. Because it's winter, why dress in a miniskirt in winter when it's cold? So, and he was laughing about this, saying that this is actually the tendency of different groups of people. They look at others and they conclude, oh, actually, they are crazy, why they do that. Another example that comes to my mind is Srila Prabhupada, when he once came to a new place. Then usually at that time, Srila Prabhupada was actually world famous person. He was known all over the world. as the leader of the Christian consciousness movement. And so when you would come to a new place, usually there would be a big press, like newspapers, television. And then one time he came, and then there was a press reporter, a lady, asking him, whilst interviewing him, why do you shave your head? And kind of in the same mood, why you shave your head? It's like, doesn't make any sense. And Prabhupada's reply was, why do you shave your legs? So
You know the answer he gave?
Yeah, he said, it's better to have a cool head and warm legs than vice versa. So again, the same point that people who see us means who are Hare Krishnas, and like the man who shave, often they're like, why you shave, and why you have this strange thing here? It's crazy, strange. But Prabhupada then in this instance, he was reverting that, why you shave your legs? Doesn't make sense to me. So that obviously there's different conceptions of life, and different based on our conception, we behave in a certain way and we do things. And in Bhagavad Gita, there is a very important statement by Krishna. He's saying, actually materialistic and spiritual life, they are 180 degrees opposite. And he gives the example of day and night. Day and night, they're opposites, literally. One is bright, one is dark. And in a similar way, materialistic life and spiritual life, they're 180 degrees opposite. Why is it an important statement? Krishna was giving a very essential understanding to us by speaking Bhagavad Gita, and he was very to the point. It's not that he spoke something superfluous. But he made that point. Why? I would say one reason is for us to understand that if, for us again, for those who want to be spiritual and want to follow the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, I cannot expect to become a spiritual person and at the same time continue in the way I did as a materialistic person. Why? Because now my goal has changed 180 degrees. It's like you walk in one direction and realizing actually this is the wrong direction, I have to go the other direction. So that point comes out that what's the word? Polarity, no? Polarity? Polarity is not when you have two poles. Polarity means you have two poles opposite each other. That's natural. That's natural in life. And especially when it comes to this topic of material life and spiritual life. And maybe what we can speak about here is, for us, again, who want to understand what means spiritual life, really in the essence. What is it all about? We have to be very careful that we really understand what do we want to change in our life. What is the essence of spiritual life? If I start to practice spiritual life, I'm a trying to be a devotee, practicing Krishna consciousness. And okay, I dress in these robes, I have this certain haircut, I do some kind of meditation, I do some studies. And I separate myself from other materialistic people, so-called materialistic people. But internally, I remain attached to my false ego. False ego meaning, okay, before I had a false ego, I'm Dominic, and I'm this young man, and I'm here in this world, and I can do so many things I can enjoy. And so that was my false ego then. But what if my new identity is just another false ego? That means I'm still crazy. I'm not at all cured. I'm still crazy, just in another form. So what is the essence of being crazy? That was mentioned previously. The essence of being crazy means to not know who am I. We know sometimes we meet mad people, like mad people who became mad, meaning we are all mad, but then someday even become really, on top of that they become mad. Meaning, what I want to say, we all forgot who we are spiritually, but then we even forget who we are materially. Then that becomes a big problem. And yeah, sometimes you see them and you meet a person who is, how is the medical term for that? I think insanity is something you cannot say anymore. Geistesbeeinträchtigt, vielleicht ist jetzt ein sehr politisch korrekter Term. Schizophrenie vielleicht ist, ich weiß nicht, ob man das kann sagen. Ist eine bestimmte Art von. And when we encounter such a person, sometimes they don't know who they are. They have a very dysfunctional, they are very off in the understanding who am I in this world, and it's my identity. So that's on the material plane, but now on the spiritual plane, our teachings, they tell us that we have an identity. That's maybe interesting for you, Lara. That's at the essence of our teaching, is that we have an I, not me as the body, but I as a spirit soul, I have an eternal identity. Meaning I have an eternal form, I have an eternal name, I have an eternal place, I have an eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, and I have an eternal occupation. I even have an eternal dress.
But they change all the time.
Actually, when we hear, at least what I heard, when we read the books of our acharyas who have access to that eternal sphere, they described some of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, how they look like. Like Krishna, this the yellow dhoti, that's usually, and Srimati Radharani, she has a blue sari, like Lara's color, this kind. The color of Shyam, though she likes to dress in the color of Krishna. And so Lalita, Vishaka, it's described. There is a book.
Yeah, I was just thinking of that Radharani's getting a new dress every day, so yeah, she likes certain colors, of course, and she dresses in different colors. So.
Yeah, the point let's not lose ourselves in the esoteric details. The point is that we have an identity in the spiritual world, and I think they change dresses there. So you must be changing if we change here. So probably there's some variety also. So that's our philosophy. And now if we accept that point that we have an eternal identity and we don't know who we are, then we can conclude that we are actually mad, we are crazy. And therefore our Vedic scriptures, they try to teach us how to cure our disease of having forgotten our eternal identity, and again reviving that. And how to do that is basically like if you have some mental disease, if you are mad on the material plane, then usually these people go to a psychiatric hospital, and there's a doctor, and then there is a treatment. And in a similar way, Srila Prabhupada also said that the spiritual master is like the doctor, and the sadhana and all that is like the treatment. So both are very important. And I was just thinking about one point. I sometimes like to speak about things which might be relevant. About the point again, which I slightly touched before. If now I think I'm a devotee, and I think I'm good, even though I'm still on my plane of false ego, then that's even more dangerous if you are outside and you're actually mad and maybe you never thought about it, or for many reasons it's very dangerous, because first of all now I live in an even bigger illusion myself that I'm good, and then the problem that comes if you say now I'm healthy, I'm good, how can you then accept any treatment and help? So that's one problem. And even another problem is in the material world, if somebody thinks that I am good, I'm sane, I'm good, how I think and what I do, that's actually the perfect way. But in our estimation, as long as you don't know who you are, Sanatana Goswami, he was a very exalted personality, but he was so advanced also spiritually. He was materially very qualified, but even spiritually, even though he had all these opulences on the material plane, he was so humble, and he went to Mahaprabhu, Keami, who am I? Who am I? I'm like the most fallen person, I don't know who I am. And of course for this we need to have some faith that we actually have a spiritual identity, and that as long as we don't know, we are really in trouble. So, but if somebody in this world thinks that I'm good, I'm doing good, I'm speaking good, I'm thinking good, I'm good, everything about me is good and I'm right, but doesn't have this perfection of knowing the identity, the eternal identity, knowing who I am, then the problem of misleading comes, and Prabhupada speaks a lot about this false guru problem, that many people in this world, they want to take the position as leader, as guide, as teacher, but as long as they don't know who I am, then they misguide people in the wrong way. I was just reading a book about Guru our guru culture in ISKCON. And they're very nice. I never heard this statement directly. Probably you have come across this. The discussion came up that based on even what I'm saying now, that means as long as one is not 100% self-realized, then he cannot be accepted as a teacher. And we have this issue in ISKCON also, know that then how many are actually on the platform? Not many. I mean, we have to accept even philosophically. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam Sahasreshu. So among thousands, one tries to endeavor for spiritual life, and among them one knows. It's very few. And so we can conclude only a few. And then that means we have a problem, because we have so many people who want to make spiritual advancement. They need guidance, but then there is only a few who are on the platform. So that doubt and question is there, how to deal with this. And in the book there was a statement quoted by Srila Prabhupada where he says that like in a school, you have a teacher, and then there is usually, especially in Indian schools, as I understand, there is not only one generation, but there's many different ages. You know, they put them together and then they teach according quite individual, and they stay together. And what happens in that tradition, the teacher is the teacher, but he will also have senior students who will take the role of, I think the word tutor is taken, so meaning someone who is already a little bit more advanced, maybe not a teacher, but he has already learned something, and he can already guide others, and he also knows, even though he's not perfect in knowledge, he knows and has understood where we want to go, because he has a connection to the teacher. So even though he himself has not yet reached the destination, he knows the way basically, and he knows the person who is already there. So in this way he can then take some responsibility. And I really was happy. I never heard. Did you hear about this statement? Sure. Yeah, that seems to remove that whole controversy about who can be.
Well, can also make it bigger. Depending on how to.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, yes, as we see in this kind of controversy. Anyway, maybe it's not so also relevant now to this discussion, but yes. But for us to really understand, and maybe I can conclude with this point, what's my situation? Like, how am I doing? And not falling into this trap of stagnating in spiritual life because I identify with some things, I get attached to some things. And in this way I stagnate, I cannot make any more progress. And I think that's a relevant point for us, and really important that we always reflect again and take the example of our acharyas, who, even though very exalted, they always maintain the humble disposition. And they express that humility by showing remorse, by showing embarrassment, regret about their own existence. And in this way we remain on the same side. That we identify. Prabhupada once in initiation, this is also a famous story, you know all, that there was one Western devotee taking initiation and one Indian, and the Western came from a very hippie type of background, and the Indian from a very cultured, spiritual background. And Prabhupada to the Western, he said, never forget your past, and to the other person he said, now forget your past. So we, especially we Westerners, we can always remember when we see some pride creeps in. We can look back in our life and remember, according to what we now think is good and what is not good, what is bad. Wow, how much of not good stuff have I done in my life? And there's different opportunities in our daily life where we can do. This morning when we were circumambulating Tulsi Maharani, the tendency is unfortunately that we become a little bit unconscious in our practice. I can see that in my practice, but sometimes we become a little bit more conscious. And today also when I circumambulated and I chanted Yani Kanicha Papani Brahmahatani Kanicha, all of a sudden I was reflecting about some things I did know in my life. And I was really praying that Tulsi Maharani, you're so merciful, that you offer me forgiveness if I come to you. And I then thought maybe it would be good for me to do this more consciously on a regular basis. That, okay, I didn't maybe kill a Brahmana in this life, but I certainly did many things. And yeah, in this way it puts things into perspective, and I realize where I am. And another side to this is that we always maintain the goal. We should always maintain the vision to our goal. Because we didn't come to this movement to negate primarily. This is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So we came for becoming Krishna conscious. So it's not that, oh, I'm not this, I'm not that, neti, and this material world is bad and everything what we do here is so negative. No, that's not the point at all. The point is, wow, I'm an eternal servant of Krishna and he's the most wonderful person, and again, like before, our philosophy is telling us that I have an eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, and that's only my particular relationship. I think Srila Prabhupada gives also this example that every jiva is like a very particular scent. There's many different scents, fragrance. But the scent which I have been given by Krishna, only I have, and only I can offer that to him. And that's a nice meditation. That first of all, that wow, that it's really real. I'm an individual. I'm a person, and I can offer something. I have something to offer. Okay, I'm not going to get proud because in reality, what I offer it comes from Krishna himself. But I have something to offer, and so how do we keep the focus on that, on the positive aspect, if we hear about Krishna? How am I going to develop the desire to know who I am if I don't hear about Krishna? If I don't read Krishna book, hear Krishna book, hear about his pastimes, it's not going to happen, because I have to go into that meditation at some point that there is actually a world where Krishna exists and he lives with all his servants personally. Or we go on parikrama, Rajman parikrama ki jai, or Navati Mama parikrama ki jai. because then we go there, and when we hear, all of a sudden it hits us that actually what I'm trying to achieve here, or Prabhupada tries to give me, is that I also go there. I go there, I go home. So that's a very important point, that we don't neglect. If we want to make real advancement in spiritual life, we have to hear about Krishna. Just recently I was reading a letter of Srila Prabhupada. He wrote to one of his leading disciples, a big manager, a big leader in ISKCON at that time. And this devotee was one of the foremost managers in ISKCON. And Prabhupada writes to him a letter saying, why are you trying to centralize everything, something like this? It's about, managing, and that devotee thought, okay, now we have to centralize the management, we have to control better the whole society. But Prabhupada chastised him, I don't want this. And then he goes on and very nicely explains how he sees this movement being very dynamic and healthy. And he basically speaks about that the individuals have to be spiritually strong. And then all of a sudden Prabhupada makes this point that actually I'm seeing that in our society we are in a dangerous situation now, because it appears that we are missing the point. And then Prabhupada says, what's the point? The point is that we become mad for Krishna. That's his saying. That we become mad for Krishna. And if we read the Nectar of Devotion, that's what we try to achieve. And so this is connected with this point. Who am I? Who am I? How am I going to serve the Lord? I'm serving Him now. And service is always the main thing. But internally, that has to be cultivated. That lowliam, that greed also, to really know how do I really perfectly serve Krishna eternally. So to answer maybe this question of Srila Prabhupada, who is crazy? We are all crazy according to that estimation. Each and every one in this material world, except the one who knows his or her spiritual identity. And we can also look for those. We can pray to Krishna, please bring me in connection with those who have realized their eternal identity. Even though we said before that it's very rare, these personalities, at the same time they're always, I think, again, Krishna, who I'm turning to you, because I often hear things and I remember them, but I forget where they come from. And somehow I have the feeling it comes from the Gaur-Govinda Maharaj sect. The point of that there will always be pure devotees on the planet. Right? Isn't it? There's some statement like that. That if there is no pure devotee, and pure devotee means you actually, a person who is established in the eternal relationship, that if there is no pure devotees on this planet, then the planet cannot even maintain itself. And I'm speaking very heavy statements today. But again, also this statement is quite interesting to us, that if we think about it, wow, if there is these personalities, it will be so nice to have their association, and please, Krishna, bring me in association of these devotees. Yeah, we have to learn in our spiritual life that there is different stages of devotees. Kanishtamadhyam, Uttamadhikari. Let me be with the Uttamadhikari devotee. And that's a nice prayer also. Okay, I will end here. If there's any comments or questions, maybe you want to add something.
Just on the point of, the whole topic mad, it can be, of course, can be controversial in the sense of there's always some tension between those who believe and those who don't believe, right? There's always this tension. I remember once we had a group of students coming to the temple, and then one student was asking, why are you doing preaching, like missionary work? We just went to the Buddhist temple, and the Buddhists, they said, we don't preach. People just come to our place. This is much nicer. Why do we, aggressively try to get people to your place? But then I tried to explain. I said, well, I told the story of the scorpion at the sadhu. I explained, there's a story that once there's a little pond, and a sadhu, like a saintly person, he saw how a scorpion was on a leaf, drowning, and dying basically. So the sadhu took his hand and tried to take out the scorpion from the water. But then the scorpion stinged, yeah. And the sadhu, and the scorpion fell back to the water. And then the sadhu again took, and then again, and again he tried. And then someone watching said, what you're doing? Don't you see that this scorpion is hurting you? Just drop it. And then the sadhu said, what can I say? It is the nature of the scorpion to sting, and it's my nature to help others. So I'm just doing my nature, and he's doing his nature. So we just want to try. We just try to help people, although maybe people don't appreciate and they even hurt us, but we still try to help. So this is how I try to explain. But then one student said, what does it mean? You mean we are drowning? You're drowning in the water and we need your help? This is what you're saying?
Yes.
And this is a little bit the tension, but actually that's the message of every religion. Like Christianity, Jesus Christ says, don't build your house on sand, build it on stone. Don't go for wealth which the monks can take. You should, like any spiritual leader teaches that there is another dimension, there is a spiritual reality, which is our true home, and we are meant to go there. And this life in this world is kind of temporary, there is suffering, but there is an eternal life where there is happiness. And so basically every religion teaches that. Also Buddhists, they don't speak about the God, but they say life is suffering, and if you meditate, you can come out of the suffering. Every religion tells this. So in that sense, any spiritual movement has a message to the world that you're not really happy here, you need something else to become really happy.
Yes.
But in those who don't believe feel, what's your problem? I'm happy. Leave me alone. So there is always this tension.
Can I ask something?
Sure. Yeah.
So in this example of the scorpion, what motivates you, or this person to keep helping or try to help if the help is not being accepted?
What is the motivation?
Yes.
As the story says, it's the motivation is that Saul, that's his nature to help. And also because he sees the ultimate good. He understands that the scorpion doesn't realize that actually he should better accept the help, because if he doesn't accept the help, the scorpion will drown and die. So the scorpion is kind of an illusion, doesn't know. But I know, and that's why I should try to help, even though the help is maybe not accepted. So anyone who feels some connection to something divine and understands that this gives a greater meaning in life, will try to help others to give them the same experience. But of course, one thing is important that I like with our understanding is it's not about converting people to some certain belief, but it's more about helping people to raise their consciousness. You know, it doesn't, because it's not important which religion you believe, whether you follow this tradition or that tradition, but it's important that people raise their consciousness, they become more aware, they become more kind, they become more compassionate, they become more, you know, like good people. And that's something everyone wants. We need to have people with a higher consciousness. Higher consciousness means more selfless, more loving, more, you know, understanding of the environment. But that everyone wants. So, and spirituality or religion is actually meant to uplift people, so that people become better people.
Of course, have to define what's good and what's better, because for everyone that's, I think, different, right?
Of course, that's another thing in today's world. What is good and what is bad. But again, here comes religious scriptures. They do give definitions, and of course, if you speak of the law of karma, if you believe that there is a universal law, or if there is karma, there must be some universal laws. But nowadays, there is sometimes also this notion that there is no, like everything is relative. It's a dangerous thing, because then those who bad people can actually misuse. For me, this is good, you know.
Yeah.
If a chemical company just throws all the chemical garbage into the ocean, they say, why do you say bad? For me, it's good.
I would even go that far. That's why we have so many problems today. I mean, everybody knows.
Yeah.
So many are suffering due to the human nature suffering. Animals are suffering. Primarily nature and animals. Why? You see that especially from the time where we became very secular, where we don't accept some divine source, then slowly that everything is kind of relative, and okay, we like to have a good planet, a healthy planet, but yeah, it's a really dangerous position. I also want to
just want to say, does it make sense, or you have some other?
I think it makes sense, but it's hard to understand. Like, I think I get the concept. But again, because everyone is so individual, I think the process of having this conscious or like pursuing this conscious to be better is just different for everyone.
Of course, I mean, individuality is there, but like, let's say, you know, stealing something. Don't you think that there could be some universal law that taking something away from someone is in general, that there can be different situations, you know, like
okay, yes.
that can be like someone is, you know, like dying and he needs hardly something,
yes,
maybe
yes.
he's in a difficult situation where he steals something just to survive, and there might be some adjustment for that individual person. But in general, being selfish, to take something from others, to hurt others is not good, and to help others to be selfless is good. I mean, that kind of, I mean, at least we should agree on that, you know, like to some basic.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
That's true. Yes.
But I think because we have this picture of a, strafender Gott, like an angry God, and with these heavy rules and regulation, then this was kind of rejected, and then this we go on the other extreme. There's no rules. There's everything is relative. It's kind of a reaction to it has a lot to do with monotheistic religion and this angry God, and then we reject that and go to the other extreme. And I think Vedic knowledge has something to offer with a more mature, wholesome picture when it comes to that. Because Krishna is a dancing God, playing the flute. He's a loving God, it's not an angry God.
The Vedic culture is also that a certain group of society, they actually actively discuss these points. What is good, what is bad?
I think it depends on the moral of the people.
Yeah.
Like, I think in every country also, or just in every little city, or maybe not in Switzerland, but like maybe in America, in every state, like the morality is different everywhere. So I think based on morality, you kind of define what's good and what's bad, I think.
But then it's interesting when you have the whole topic of abortion, for example.
Yes.
It is a very
Yeah.
difficult topic. then you can see what is ethical and moral. But then our understanding would be, well, in addition to ethical and moral, you also would need to have some transcendental knowledge, like knowledge about reality. And of course, you can argue what is true, what is not true. But if, for example, if you understand there is reincarnation and the whole science of the soul and transmigration, you get a different picture of abortion. But yeah, it's
Yeah, it's hard.
it's hard. And then even there, like there might be an individual situation where I agree also for a woman. I mean, if I would be that woman, most probably I was also not to abort, because it's just the individual situation is not. But then you have to, yeah, it's kind of tricky.
But it should be encouraged to speak about this, discuss.
I think it's
not in a way to fight, but to soberly try to understand what's good for everyone. And that's the Vedic thing. Everybody should be happy. No, what's that? Sukhino. There is one aphorism which says everyone should be happy. It's a very Vedic fundamental principle that the duty of a living entity is to behave in a way that everyone can get as much happiness as possible.
But it's also interesting, like we all have a certain worldview. It's not that someone doesn't have a worldview, we all have it. But sometimes we're not so conscious about it, because we're influenced by society, we're influenced by our parents, by education. And we kind of take up some kind of worldview and we're very convinced about it. But it is healthy to kind of reflect what is actually my values, what is my moral, ethical system, what is my understanding, and try to really search for the truth, understand what is actually proper. I think this is not done so much nowadays. People just accept something from here and there, rather than trying to understand what is actually makes sense.
But I mean, happiness again defines different opinions. Like, I mean, maybe I'm happy if I kill someone. Maybe this makes me happy, or like, again, it's very different for everyone.
It's again, you can discuss about it. But then, what brings it to a really nice level is if you. The point in this aphorism is that everyone should be happy. Okay, it makes you happy.
But if someone else is
But what if somebody else is suffering? And
Yeah.
that brings a very nice foundation, a foundation of, okay, and that's the whole philosophic line, is that we are all connected. That's why we all should be happy. If it's like a family, that if you are happy, it will benefit me, and if I'm happy, it will benefit you. That's the Vedic.
And there comes also the word dharma in the picture. Dharma is a Sanskrit word, can mean religion, it can mean like universal law, but like dharma means that everyone is in harmony with each other. There is no imbalance. And when that dharma is disturbed, then someone starts to suffer and someone is misusing. Understanding the dharma that everyone can be happy, that's kind of
Yeah, very interesting.
Okay. Just I wanted to share this thought. You said how every religion basically is saying that there's something better. Actually, even materialistic people, all the advertisements. What is the message? If you get this, or if you do this, or then you will be happy. So most of the people, they have some conception of how we can be happy. Some on the spiritual, some on the material plane. And if somebody, just to protect all the religions, says, why are the religions, see how we all have to tolerate all this advertisement outside, on YouTube, in the television, in the bus, constantly bombarding you with, if you do this, if you go there, if you buy this, then you will be happy. So that's also the right of them to do.
But then when a religious person shows you a Bible or sings Hare Krishna, people become very upset. Why do you repeat that?
Yeah, exactly. Prasad, Srila Bhagavatam ki jai. Gaura Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Assistent gesagt, crazy ist jemand, der das Gleiche immer wieder macht.
Das hat genau Prabhupada gesagt, da, in der Purport.
Ah, okay.
Sorry, ja.
Das Gleiche immer wieder macht und ein anderes Resultat erwartet. Oder?
Ja, und Prabhupada hat es genau so definiert, aber das habe ich gar nicht so geredet. Madman gibt doch das Beispiel von einem Kriminellen, obwohl er sieht, alle werden eingesperrt und bestraft, wenn man stirbt. Und er selber ist schon mehrmals bestraft worden, aber er stirbt immer weiter.
Aber weißt du, das ist ja bei uns also, das ist voll crazy. Die eine Sache, wir wissen genau, dass es nicht gut ist.
Macht es trotzdem.
Und machen es trotzdem immer wieder. Und ich könnte so lange hocken. Das braucht eine richtige Übung.
Das kommt. Liebst 2 Minuten Tag. Ja, am Anfang habe ich das auch gemacht.
Geht mir nicht.
Das ist dann auch wieder
Das ist ja wie Yoga.
Ja. Ja. Das habe ich jetzt nicht gemacht.
Du hast mitgemacht.
Ja.
Das ist auch Yoga.
Wir haben gerade letzte Woche im Vega-Forum über Craziness geredet.
Ja. Im Spot,
Ja. Und dort ist eigentlich vor allem auch gegangen, der Lifestyle, dass man halt einfach immer mehr will.
Ja.
Ich muss mir nicht darüber nachdenken, was es eben bedeutet, so zu leben oder, und so viel zu schaden. Und einfach nur, dass man es produziert hat, produziert man es nicht, oder etwas wieder gut, sondern es ist echt crazy. Und dann im Zusammenhang zu dem, auch jedes Mal bei Tulsi andere ich immer überlegen, was ich alles für Sünden gemacht habe am letzten Tag. Aber eigentlich machen wir noch so viel mehr, was wir nie wissen. Oder wenn man ein bisschen im Garten arbeitet, sieht man, wie viele Tiere man einfach umbringt. Aber es passiert immer, nur dass wir essen können. Und wenn man sich mehr und mehr bewusst wird, dann sieht man einfach, oh mein Gott.
Ja, aber vielleicht sagt einfach, Sünde ist vor das Letzte.
Ja,
Ich glaube,
ja.
Im Vedischen, was auch noch schön ist, ich glaube, man geht davon aus, dass es absolute und eine relative Wahrheit gibt. Und dass, eben wenn du jetzt sagst, jemand umbringen mit Glück die Veden könnten und jemand, der die Veden versteht, könnte wahrscheinlich gut und gewiss sagen, ja, es gibt ein gewisses Glück, aber darüber kann man darüber diskutieren, was es für verschiedene Arten von Glück gibt. Und dann wir die vergleichen miteinander. Also, das spirituelles Glück, materielles Glück und dann das materielle Glück gibt es wieder verschiedene und spirituelles Glück. Und dann ja, kann man mal darüber reden, okay, wenn du jemanden umbringen willst, das gibt ja ein gewisses Warum, oder man kann das analysieren und man kann das auch akzeptieren.